Now I request my colleague, Dr. Sanjeev Raj, Associate Professor of Department of Communication, Bangalore University, to deliver the welcome address.
Thank you very much, sir. Good evening, esteemed dignitaries, media experts, and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues. The Department of Communication of Bangalore City has a rich and varied history dating back to its roots since 1973. The department is one among the India's oldest and premium communication school. As a proud faculty of this department, I am pleased in welcoming each one of you to the first international webinar on resiliency of media in the times of global crisis, challenges and opportunities. It is high time that we host this webinar to highlight the remarkable contribution of media and its resilience to our lives. Resilience refers to one's ability to endure and recover from adversity. Many theories about what contributes to the development resilience have been explored without a clear consensus. We believe this webinar brings consensus and amalgamate the challenges and solutions. A glance through the list of presentations planned in this 1 week reveals the amazing diversity of media experts addressing the diverse fields of their expertise with an inclusive approach towards challenges, barriers, and applications. There is a great demand for understanding resilience in media. Developing countries are not simply passive recipients of technologies created and shared by their developer partners. Now we are understanding the root level issues is suffering, and a new reframe is required to address the issues, and media plays a key role while we refine and reframe. Conferences such as this would provide a valuable opportunity for communication scientists, industry specialists, and decision makers to share experiences. I am grateful to the many experts who have come to share their knowledge this week. I also welcome the many representatives of the governments, industry academicians, and researchers who have joined us. I am sure you will have fruitful and rewarding exchanges in the next few days. I, with pleasure, welcome the face and pride of Bangalore City, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Venugopal KR, a distinguished educator with enormous publications. He has awarded PhDs to more than 25 students and informally guided 150 research scholars in computer science and engineering. He has organized 35 international conferences and more than 400 workshops, seminars, and symposiums in computer science and engineering in UVCE and Bangalore University. Professor has close to 300 publications in national and international journals, and I am pleased to invite him to inaugurate the webinar. Our greatest pleasure to welcome Dr. Jabbar Al-Obaidi, Professor Media Studies and Communication Technologies, Academic Director of Global Programs, Minak Institute for Global Engagement, Bridgewater State University, USA, for accepting our invite and delivering keynote on observing media resiliency in time of pandemic, COVID-19 and other global crises. Also, I heartily welcome the chief guest for the day, Dr. P.S. Sarsha, IPS Commissioner, Department of Information and Public Relations, Government of Karnataka. Also expressing our utmost acknowledgement for my department colleagues, Dr. B.K. Ravi, Professor and Chairman, Department of Communication and former Registrar of Bangalore University, one of the proud alumni of the department. He has chaired nearly 14 scientific sessions at international conferences all over the world, and Dr. B.K. Ravi was the scientific committee of the first international forum on media and information literally constituted jointly by UNESCO and webinar chairperson, who is also presiding the inauguration. I welcome Dr. B. Shailashri, Associate Professor and webinar convener. I welcome Professor Sushila from Department of Performing Arts, Bangalore City, Bangalore. I also welcome Dr. Wahini, Dr. Sripati, and Dr. Rajeshwari of our sister department, Electronic Media. I formally welcome one and all once again. I hope you have a wonderful and insightful learning this week. Thank you. Over to Professor Dr. B. Ravi for introductory speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjeev Raj. And as all of you know, Bangalore University, we have under the leadership of our dynamic Vice Chancellor, Professor Venugopal, we have signed a MOU with Bridgewater State University. Our Professor Jabbar was one of the initial promoters of this MOU. He was very particular that Bangalore University and Bridgewater State University should come together, the global platform. And that happened in January 2020. And my colleagues from Bridgewater State University, Dr. Uma Sharma, Dr. Vinkai, and Dr. Madhu Rao, they are also very much present in this webinar. And this is the first venture where Professor Jabbar will be delivering our inaugural address. We are very happy. And on behalf of Bangalore University, I welcome all my colleagues from Bridgewater State University. As I already told you, now the whole globe is in crisis, and we just want to know what exactly is happening at the other parts of the world. So based on quite a lot of factors of this kind, because each and every nation, especially in Indian situation, and we have seen in media how a country like United States of America is suffering, quite a lot of other countries are also suffering, especially in India, along with other industries. Indian media industry has also started suffering like anything because of this pandemic. The circulation of newspapers has come down. The film production units have locked down. All the multiplexes, and there is no question of film viewing in the whole country. The television production has come down. So under these circumstances, so where exactly we stand? So on these lines, we have organized this international webinar where I'm very happy. The whole week, it's a 1 week international webinar where quite a lot of international experts will be exchanging their views with all of us. I request all of you to stay with us for the whole week. Now, may I request Professor K.R. Venugopal, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Bangalore University, to address his inaugural address.
So thank you for inviting me to inaugurate this program, this webinar on resilience of media in the times of global crisis, challenges and opportunities. I congratulate the Department of Mass Communication for their first international webinar, and I thank Professor Jabbar, who is going to speak on the subject. I also thank Professor Shri P.S. Harsha, Commissioner, Department of Information and Public Relations, Government of Karnataka. We have with us the other faculty of Bridgewater State University. I welcome them for this program. We have also our faculty, B.K. Ravi, Sailashri, Sanjeev Raj, Vahini Rajeshwari, and Shripati. Bangalore University is running 6 courses in mass communication. One is in mass communication, the second is in electronic media, third is in animation and graphics, the fourth one is filmmaking, fifth one is public relations, corporate relations, and the sixth one is new media studies. Indeed, I am a student of mass communication in the year 1984, and I am very proud and happy to say that I belong to this department. That is 36 years back, and Professor B.K. Ravi is 1 year junior classmate of mine in Bangalore University Central College, and I take this opportunity to congratulate all the participants who will be participating in this 1 week seminar international webinar. I'm always wondering as to how Bridgewater State University and Bangalore University will go forward when we signed the Memorandum of Understanding in January 2020. And today, we have the first interaction between Bridgewater State University and Bangalore University. And the topic is the wake of the crisis pandemic, COVID-19, the future of the media. I've been attending a number of international webinars on media, And what comes to my mind is now print media, the electronic media has been overtaken by social media. The long short stories have become short, and the short stories have become instant. So we have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and everybody is a journalist. Everybody is a photojournalist. Any person who knows to write, any person who is a blogger has become a journalist. So in the wake of now the onslaught of individuals, the media industry is going to face a real challenge in time to come. We have always seen the breaking news become one of the most important component of television industry. There is intense competition as who will put the news first. And in this age of social distancing, we have become very close to each other. The students and teachers have become very close to each other. Now we have online courses, online webinars. We have brought experts across the world to our platform, and it has become so easy for us to interact with the international expert. And thanks to all these platforms which are available, a range of platforms, there are about more than 300 platforms, popular platforms, and more than 10,000 online platforms that are available to these webinars and online classes. We have seen that a photojournalist, everybody has a camera now. So how will a photojournalist survive with the onslaught of everybody having a camera with 1 megapixel camera? And you know what will happen to a photojournalist? We are talking about 1,000 words. A photograph speaks 1,000 words. Now, when everybody can photograph and send across the world on the internet, you will know what will happen to photojournalism in this world. The print media is 24 hours away. So therefore, in the age of Instagram, in the case of onslaught of social media, then what happens to this print media? People do not want to see a newspaper. People do not want to read a newspaper. People do not have time to read a newspaper. People do not have time to even see the series in a television. Of course, now during the lockdown period, people are now glued to television, but even that will vanish with the onslaught of this social media. And you know, we have one more issue which you are going to face is how to distinguish between the fake news and the real news. But still, I feel the honesty, hard work, and the true journalism will prevail over all the onslaught of technology as well as the social media. I've been always telling the virtual thing which has become, it has become a reality. So virtual has become real. Social distancing has brought social media closer, and it has brought us much closer, especially the experts, students, and the teachers. And I congratulate the department for conducting this 6-day webinar. Maybe if I try to speak, I will cut into the time of Jabbar. We are very happy indeed, sir, that you are here with us. And we also thank Arsha Kumar for participating in this, because we know Department of Information and Publicity, most of them are from the Bangalore University Central College. My own classmate, D.P. Murlidhar, Ravi Kumar, Vishu Kumar, Mamata Gowda, and many people are there in information and publicity. And today we are very happy that Arsha Kumar is also participating in this webinar. I thank each and every one of you for giving me an opportunity to inaugurate this webinar. And thank you, Professor Ravi. Thank you, Sanjeev Raja, Saileshri, Vani, Vahini, Rajeshwari, and Shripati for initiating this series of international webinar. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you very much, Professor Venugopal, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Bangalore University. Now, may I request Dr. P.S. Harsha, IPS, Commissioner, Department of Information and Public Relations, Government of India, Government of Karnataka, to deliver his address as Chief Guest.
Yeah, very good evening to all the dignitaries. In fact, it's a proud privilege to be a part of this webinar. I immensely thank Professor Ravi to have given this opportunity. Basically, as all of us know, the role of media, the resilience of media in today's whole context is more relevant than ever. Pandemic of a nature of COVID had never visited us in this scale. It has come unannounced. The other day I was telling, even an event like Olympics, wherein governments or systems know 4 years in advance, even events like that leave much to be desired even on the last date. There will be a lot of gaps, there will be a lot of work in progress. So COVID-19 has totally sort of defined a new role for media. Media is not only informing people, but has a much larger kind of responsibility of guiding people about the whole scenario, keeping them informed, guiding them as to what is right, what is wrong. If you look at the general kind of scare, the panic that has set in across the world, it's only media who can clear this air and reassure the populations across the world, because ultimately no economy can survive lockdown for ages. We across the world there have been lockdowns. As all of us know, economies have got affected. Many of them have got constricted. They are constrained to reduce their activities by say 30%, 40% or varying levels. So media initially though had a different kind of a response to it. Now it has proven its resilience. Print went down in its size initially, but now has come back with the vigor and more focused. A lot of our friends in print have written excellent articles which are very, very educative and informative. Because you see, the COVID management is a continuous thing. It is not static. Initially, what was a 14 days institutional quarantine became a 7 days institutional quarantine and a 7 days home quarantine. Then it turned out to be a 14 days home quarantine. Now we have reached a stage wherein we mandate that even a COVID positive person, if he doesn't have symptoms, he will be home isolated. So how to reach out to this message to the last man on ground is one of the biggest challenges. Media has proven very, very effective. Media has again proven that it is resilient and it would not be put back by a single challenge. So the responsibility of media has grown. At the same time, when we speak of resilience, there is another factor which we should always figure in. Media itself is a huge industry feeding hundreds and hundreds of people who are dependent. Because media, as I understand, it has a multifarious, multifaceted kind of employability. There are hordes and hordes of the huge number of people who are not even connected to journalism or editorial, but think of hawkers who are in lakhs, who go out, deliver that one single paper and make their livelihood out of that. Think of those delivery channels, the drivers, the vehicle owners. It's a huge economy. So we have to make the entire media resilient to stand up to this challenge. We should see to that the jobs, the employability within this industry of media doesn't shrink. It doesn't reduce the livelihood opportunities. At the same time, the entire sector should be focused on reassuring people and united on a single theme of getting the whole world to stand united to face this pandemic and come successful. So this requires a slight alteration in viewpoints of slightly we have to be liberal when we criticize any system which is fighting COVID. Maybe doctors will err, health professionals will err, ambulance drivers will err, even the fellow who is conducting the funerals or cremations, they are bound to commit mistakes because it's a high pressure situation. There is no previous learning to bank upon. It's a first time kind of a story. So everyone is scared about their own lives. So we have to, as a part of the larger gamut, as a part of a larger universe, media also has to be slightly sympathetic or have that slight sensibility, saying that it's the world first. It's a common resolve of coming out of this global pandemic first, then our other aims and objectives. I'm very sure, I'm very happy majority of the media is already doing this. I'm very sure with everyone's resolve, media will emerge as more resilient, more robust, more stronger, and will always be recognized as a responsible voice of the ordinary citizen, which makes his life safer, better for future, and equipped to fight a pandemic of the size and magnitude of COVID-19. Again, I conclude my remarks by thanking all the event organizers for having given me such a wonderful opportunity. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Dr. Harsha, for your excellent speech. Before we start the keynote, I would like to recognize the presence of Professor Rotimi Olatunji, Lagos State University, Nigeria, one of my friends, who is an expert in advertising and public relations, is also here. Welcome. On behalf of Bangalore University, we extend a warm welcome to you also, Professor. Now, we have the keynote address by Dr. Jabbar Al-Obaidi. He's a professor of media studies and communication technologies, Bridgewater State University, United States of America. He's one of the very dynamic academician and an excellent researcher. He has published quite a lot of books and is a very popular academician throughout the globe. So he has built an excellent department. Bridgewater State University, we have one of the excellent media departments in Bridgewater State University. I had an opportunity to visit quite a lot of times, and I have also delivered lectures in Bridgewater State University because of Professor Jabbar, and he's an excellent human being, a very close friend of mine, and an excellent researcher and a very good teacher. So we are very happy, sir. You have accepted our invitation, and it is our pleasure. And once again, on behalf of Bangalore University, we extend a very warm welcome to you. Now, Professor Jabbar will be talking on observing media resiliency in time of pandemic, COVID-19, and other global crises. Over to Professor Jabbar.
Oh, and thank you. This is Jabbar Al-Obaidi. First of all, thank you, my dear friend, Professor B.K. Ravi, who I know cannot really stand still in terms of doing research and getting experts and professors and those who are interested in serving humanity to get together. So there's no wonder that when I received the message a few days ago, and I was thinking what I'm going to do, because this is a request from a dear friend. In addition, it's not just a request, personal request, but I know it's reestablish or at least start the collaboration between Bridgewater State University and your distinguished institution. So with that, I thank you, my friend B.K. Ravi, and also I thank all the distinguished guests and the leaders of the university. And I hope that over this week we can come up with something that will benefit media in general, but the audience in particular. I would like to share, if possible, the screen.
So you can share.
Here we go. You see it? So, and I cannot skip this moment without sharing with you that we are in the United States, and where I live, we have faced and we are facing three crises, really. One is well known to you, and I hope you and your families are well and healthy and safe in this time of pandemic COVID-19. So this is a crisis that we have been dealing, as such the world also dealing with it since it came to our attention back in December. And I know the New York Times published an article on January 5th, 2020. So anyone in the United States saying we have not or we didn't know about the coronavirus, or the science name is COVID-19, they need to check their information because it's not true. The second really crisis now we are fighting in the United States is the systematic racism, structural racism, and cultural racism. And now, as you witnessed, so we have the Black Lives Matter and a lot of organizations and the public opinion started to shift to address this very, very critical issue, but still a crisis in my view. It's a crisis because acknowledging the crisis without acting, then the crisis will maintain itself. The third crisis, in my opinion, is really we are fighting the disinformation in the States, in the United States. Although we are #1 country in terms of producing information, but we have this new phenomena, we call it fake news or disinformation. The last episode in this, when we know, and I'm reading this so I can be exact, the problem with testing. So the President of the United States said we have tested 40 million people, and 99% of the cases were harmless, 99%. So yesterday, when his own FDR, they asked him about whether this 99% is accurate, whether this 99% was driven or was based on science. Well, someone worked to the President of the United States, he or she is not at liberty to say the truth. And he said, I'm not going to debate this, whether who is right and who is wrong. So here we go. You know, we have the largest industry in the world in terms of media industry. But at the same time, we have a problem with the very simple things, which is truth and real information based on science, based on investigation, based on qualitative analysis and quantitative also evaluation. And I know you, as the two speakers mentioned, during wars, pandemics like coronavirus, or major crises, the role of the media is a watchdog, play that role, and becomes very complicated and probably with challenges. especially now, is not with challenges, is certain challenges. Some authoritarian countries, that's the regime, not the country itself or the culture, tend to muzzle the media, to restrict and censor its free reporting under the pretext of protecting public morals and national security. Even, as I mentioned, some democratic countries, the media is considered sensational or searching for failures or mishandling of a crisis, as we witness nowadays in the debate in American and British, especially, these two countries, coverage of the coronavirus that shed light on government's lack of preparation and mismanagement. Generally, the media, as my colleague mentioned, is a sort of adversary to all regimes, looking for stories that sell the paper, that motivate people to listen to a radio program or a TV program or the social media in general. However, I question the reliability of social media. That's why in this time, the so-called traditional media came first in terms of reliability and also dependability and checking the information. As Dr. Ken Dichter wrote in June 30th, 2020, the COVID-19 crisis both threatens and promises to reshuffle business and societal thinking about the role of local news in the 2020 and beyond. Call it pandemic panic. The crisis has clearly accelerated the known drivers of industry change worldwide. That could well lead to more consolidation of newspapers, TV networks, and local and cable television. Even in my own town, you know, I'm a member of board of directors on the cable TV here in Bridgewater. We have been thinking about what we're going to do to consolidate some of the expenses or the program outlets. And more probably financial need will present itself to the leadership. And I think this is a problem, could be permanent or it could be overcome. So there are some challenges, and I will start with the first one. And I already mentioned that. The challenge one is censorship and restrictions. So because of this, I think media is in a very odd position that if they want to report on something, real numbers, especially when it comes to COVID-19, governments will resist, authorities will resist, to try to do something. So when I'm serving, and thanks, I have global connection at home with this little box, we call it TV, and you see the contradiction there because of the collusion between freedom and the right to get the information out to the audience, us, and the censorship, of course, produced and enforced by those who are in power and in decision making. So there is a forced limitation on getting the information, even in a country like the United States, where we have the First Amendment with 49 words that allow you to express your opinion and to let the audience, or whether that be individual or group or the old language mass, or in newspaper or radio or television, to hear your opinion, and also the news that being investigated. Still, there is really a challenge that You know, they call media in the United States the enemy number one instead of COVID-19 number one. Now, is this the opinion of the public? The answer is no. Is it the opinion of the White House and the president? I would argue yes. This is, you know, this is fake news, and therefore journalists have questioned, you know, figures and also the policies and the preparedness for that. And so I'm afraid in some countries, this will continue because now you have a room for censoring the information and also tailoring the information based on your ideology and politics. And the restriction probably will continue. That's a challenge number one for me. Challenge number two, safety. I don't know what happens. I see this is not on the slide. I don't know, see why this kind of scratching there. Safety of journalists and media workers. Well, we are taught and practiced that when a journalist goes to a war, when you are on the first front line, your life probably be at risk as a journalist. Well, now, it's in time of pandemic COVID-19, unfortunately, it's just like a war zone. And we witnessed throughout the world and also here in the United States, journalists being actually arrested and questioned. And all they have done is actually to get the information in the public. Now, I'm not denying that sometimes agenda plays there. I'm not denying that the agenda setting theory is in full scale. I'm not denying that. But I'm saying is this can be a problem for the safety of our colleagues, the journalists, or your students, our students, when they grow professionally and go out to do their work. And of course, as you see in the slide, in accordance with the international standards, based on the UNESCO policies and the United Nations, actually, this is the responsibility of the authority to protect a journalist. This is not something optional. This is a law, and you see Moz Chakot in UNESCO, assistant director, said this is a problem now because government should keep journalists safe, specifically when covering any health or social crisis. And in the United States, we have both, of course. And therefore, they have come up, again, I apologize for, I don't know really what happens. This, it was clean. So this is a new phenomenon.
Some people, without knowing,
they come up with a UN plan of action on journalists and the issue of impunity. When you harm or cause harm to a reporter, to a journalist, you know, a lot of time, you know, you go free. So whether it's police or those people and they have the power to arrest someone, they are responsible to keep that journalist in this case safe. Unfortunately, it is not the case. That's why they put this plan of action, and it's still in the making to make sure that the safety is guaranteed and it's being applied. Challenge number 3, content of media. As you may know, there are almost, to me, four patterns, four models. One is the integrated coverage based on transparency, credibility, and factual information, utilizing science, public health professionals, all of this. So it is there, and we should rely on it. And as I mentioned in the beginning, most of the time when we have a national need, media, left and right and the center, they get together because their purpose is to inform, to educate the people. I mean, these are basic function for the media. So we have this, hopefully this will continue. The second one is incomplete treatment based on really underestimation and also some contradictions, and satisfy the political needs of an authority, of organization, even if that be the media organization. So they say, okay, you tell her this news based on this because, as I mentioned, this is what they want the people to know, at least, or to think about it. The third is sensational treatment, where it's intentionally mislead the information. So it's not, it just happened because underestimation, as in model number 2, but actually purposely tailored the writing, the feature of the story is actually to degrading the value of that particular information. And this is really very unfortunate, because especially now with COVID-19. And the fourth model is exploratory coverage, hit and miss. So you watch some news media outlet, you read some articles, and you see sometimes they balance, and sometimes it is. So it's very confusing between an opinion or editorial piece, or this is actually a piece of information based on investigation and also reliable sources. So this is now sometimes it kind of takes from the spiritual side or religious side, and that's in this number 4 where you see the conspiracy theories. This is the container for it. So you see, this is, and it's really not just in so-called third world countries, as some Western minds they want to say. Although the new language is developing countries, as the largest democracy in the world, India is a developing countries. So not just in India or in where I came from, Iraq, or even in the United States. Well, this is not true. This is being staged. This is not just in China, not just in the Middle East or in Asian countries, or So this is a problem that we need to make sure that number 4 is kind of push to the first, so we can clean it, and then we can dismantle it, or probably we can realize that this is very very unfortunate, because it's really hurt the audience if they don't. And it's social media, by the way, there's a lot of that. So that's why I say traditional media is the one that we rely on now. When you talked about, you take these 4 models, there is something there's sharing characters, fear and panic. And I believe the last speaker mentioned about panicking. So this is one example. In the outbreak of Ebola, for example, you see the rate is very flat, where with coronavirus, you see it's going up and still going up. Why? Because it's this kind of fear. That's why you know, some of the leaders or governments or you know, Minister of Information or Culture or whatever entity, they capture this fear, and they say, oh, that's why I don't want to report on this. So if you say, you know, how many cases, well, you increase the degree of fear. And then you probably increase or cause panicking for the people. Therefore, you want to kind of curtail the numbers and don't share the numbers. So this is, of course, you know, fear is part of it. It's psychology. So, you know, you have to deal with it. And also you can massage it, or you can mention it in a way that actually enhance the preparedness of individual to fight this panic and this coronavirus by, you know, at least the basic three elements that social distancing, you put a cover on your face, what we call it mask, and also the wash, you know, you wash your hands as you can, and the hygiene and all that you know better than I do probably. But this is important to do. Also, for example, for the media, of course, that's really in a way making the outbreak is not as only health, public health concern, but also financial concerns, because the problem seems to be going bigger and bigger. So this is another one. So I'm going to move out of it because of the sake of time. The challenge number 4 is economic turndown. This is really, you know, important, you know, to understand from media perspective. According to the report by World Economic Forum, the media industry, from content creators to distributors, has been greatly impacted, severely impacted. While consumer demand for content has skyrocketed, because remember, what's the investment for us who work in media, whether it's colors or you are in doing real television or working on daily newspapers or electronic media in terms of these reliable websites and outlets, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of this, we're talking about, you know, reliability. So the problem is you can get some content, and the people, because they are home, you know, locked down, they are working from home. So there is a demand on that. However, the revenues come from advertisement is on the decline, actually steeply declined. And distribution to sectors such as music, sport, gaming, all gone. And now those who are willing to pay to run advertisement, they don't know what the message should be about. It used to be, before COVID-19, you go to the publisher and say, this is what I would like to do. And then they will write it, they will run it by you, and then they, you know, rehearse it, and then they put it. Now, it's very confused. What message I want to do this? That's why you notice all messages, always they link it to these three elements that we mentioned in terms of social distancing, masking, and the hygiene or wash handling. So this is really, you know, important to us as in media, to teach our students, also to talk about it. And thank you for this opportunity, because then all our minds get together to talk about it, and then we see how we can create a new content post-COVID-19 that really will engage the audience.
Okay. Thank you very much,
Still,
Professor. It was an excellent presentation from you. I think we have learned quite a lot of things. I think you have covered almost all the topics. May I ask some questions, because there are a lot of questions from the viewers. Shall I ask you some questions?
please.
Yeah. Whenever there's a discussion on COVID-19, Professor, as all of us know, both United States of America and India, we are one of the largest democracies in the world. And we have what is called the freedom of the press also. But whenever these official figures are announced, there's quite a lot of discussion about these official figures or deaths or infected people or anything of that kind. What do you think is a necessity, and why there is a lot of discussion on these figures? Sir, kindly unmute. Sir, your mic is off, and
Okay.
you disconnect that screen sharing option, sir, so that it will be easy.
I think that the answer is because, you know, as I said, the most important thing to any person is the safety of him, herself, and his family, and then you go to throughout the list, you know. So that's really the main reason. And because media figure out that if they don't talk about the immediate danger, then they will lose out. As you know, a lot of things has gone really in different direction when the shutdown started in the economy, and also when it's come to the lockdown in terms of people not going to their normal working space. I think so. In my assessment, that's the reason that media want to latch into and to grab this opportunity to talk about COVID-19, because this is the only topic. And in November, United States, also we have the political campaign now, you know, and then you have the election, and you have the presumption candidates, Joe Biden, and then you have Trump. You have two schools there, or two approach. The Democrats, to be candidate, Joe Biden, wants to talk, you know, always talk about COVID-19, public health concerns, and the future of the United States. Where you have, on the other side, you have President Trump is basically coming on, this is how I'm going to be re-elected. So it's different versions. It's really the same audience almost, because when it comes to the public health, it's all under the same dangers. And that's why you see now the spike in numbers in Texas and in Georgia and also in Florida. And where I live in Massachusetts, actually yesterday, there were 5 articles about, because today we started what we call it phase 3, but there are articles cautioning the governor that don't, you know, do the same mistake, because if you're going to open it as it's being proposed, then probably we're going to have a problem. So everything, I think media should pay attention to that, should be gradually, and you build it. It's just like building a house. You start from the foundation. The foundation now in this crisis of public health is how to educate the people and make them, this is not, when you put a mask on your face, is not a shame, not shameful thing, has nothing to do with culture. We can create a new direction so people, they can, you know, protect themselves. And also you tell them from moral and even religious point of view, if you take care of yourself, that means you take care of me. I'm the person I'm communicating with you, your family and my family, and we can, you know, talk about this message. And that's why the media always, even this few advertisements, they connect with these 3 elements and with the public health.
Sir, one more question. You mentioned about Ebola also. Ebola was one of the dangerous diseases when compared to COVID-19. Why is that COVID-19 has got more coverage than Ebola? Ebola is much dangerous. What is the reason?
Yeah, well, listen, capitalism, it works. Capitalism, it works when Ebola was in its really high time. But with this one, because it has the global dimension, capitalism is really collapsed or about to collapse. Because look, it is not no more just this is African countries. It's happening from developing countries, and it is happening to you and not going to happen to me. Well, as it travel from the second largest economy in China to the largest union on the planet, the European Union, and then from Europe to one of the capital of tourism and culture and music and theater in New York. Of course, it happened in Washington, Seattle. So it is that sense of global and the pace that it travel to these countries. Then they really took the seat and say, oh, wait a minute. This is not just for the poor people. It's not God sent disease to those people. This is now global. So that's the reason you have in one day, in 1 month, 3,000 articles for covering in depth COVID-19, as opposed to 15 articles about Ebola and other diseases.
Professor, there is one question from Dr. Sukumar Pal. What will be content sharing of media to stop stigma and fear among people on COVID-19? What message they would like to give to the budding journalists related to reporting during pandemic?
That's an excellent question. I think is connecting with people. See what the people, what's the story, how they cope with the virus, how they cope with their people. In the United States, they have a period of calling, a freeze, evicting people from their rental houses. So now it's gone. So in a few weeks, we're going to have a disastrous situation in the United States because people, they don't have actually to feed their kids, never mind to pay $1,000 or more for their housing. Therefore, we need to be reflective and we need to be responsible and go and talk to people and collect the information, because content will drive the public towards your medium, whether it's a print as its old name, or the digital version. And by the way, one of the good impacts of virus, if I say so, is actually the traditional media, your newspapers, your radio show, your television show, start to pick up. Why? Because people are confined, different spaces. So we need to make sure that we give them the content that will actually talk about their need.
Okay. Thank you, Professor. There is one question from Pranta Pratik Patnaik. Can you throw some light on the political economy of media during this pandemic in USA?
It said in the US?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shall I read once more? Can you throw some light on the political economy of media during this pandemic in USA?
Yeah. So there is two things happening. A lot of talk now about big media. Talk about CBS, ABS, NBC. You have the larger cable TV, especially CNN and MSNE, and they are talking about consolidating some of the programs. And this is not because I want to, but because I'm forced to do so. Why? As I mentioned, is the cut in advertisement. Advertisement is, by the way, even social media, Facebook and Google in 2020, this year, they are, it is projected that they will lose $40 billion. $40 billion. So, and remember, these all interconnected. And regionally speaking, if you go, I interviewed 4 of my colleagues in the Middle East, and they said a lot actually of even state or government run networks, television, because it's based on their the governmental budget, it's gonna be actually stopped somehow, because they say, from where we're gonna give you the money, because if you cannot generate it, even limited advertisement. So the core for this problem is advertisement. The second one is the rethinking of the content itself. That will probably generate a new interest. And remember, one of the impact now we have in the United States, especially, I don't know, you can tell me what happens in India, that they go back to their archives. So a lot of old programs, feature films, documentaries, talk shows, they start come to actually come up because they want to fill the air. And remember, also some of the entertainment program, because there was a taste. So when you have a talk show, midnight or prime time, and all of a sudden is disappear, and then the host of that program wants to create something from his basement or her basement, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna generate laughter. And so the thing is going really two direction. One is how we're gonna consolidate and why we consolidate. The second thing, what kind of content that we need to offer, so probably to sustain and repair the situation.
Thank you, sir. The same trend is continuing even in India. They have turned their faces toward the archives. When everything is locked down, old content is getting a lot of demand. Thank you, sir. And there is one question from Simon Varghese. Sir, do you think conflicting messages and mask usage as failure of right communication?
Oh, I have to tell you, this is really another important question. I won't rush to judgment and blame the media. Media didn't, have not said that. Media always say, please adhere to these 3 things or more based on any country policy. I blame and argue the responsibility, and this is the media responsibility, to talk about the misinformation generated by the leadership. So I started my talk with you about what's happening in the country. When you know, you lead by example, sir. You lead by example, and media would not. If now we have, you know, and I suggest to you, my friend, as a chair of this great webinar, is to one day probably all of us will put a mask. So we demonstrate this is something to protect ourselves and protect our audience. So we should always, and this is what happened in the United States. Always they blame, you know, and they come up with explanation and say, well, you are the president or the vice president. You didn't put this. You are a senator. You didn't put you didn't cover your face. Where the public people, regular people like myself, when you go out, you put your mask. Again, as I said, to protect themselves. So please don't unless, you know, there is the, you know, model 3 deliberately in the name of security, in the name of the economic revival, that we say, oh, don't worry, because this virus will dissipate. This virus is not going to dissipate. Actually, today, the World Health Organization, they received a letter, I think from 239 doctor, I'm reading, a letter from 239 scientists is asking the World Health Organization, WHO, which by the way, in the United States, we said, okay, we're not gonna give you our share of money. Shame. Shame on the United States. I'm telling you, I did 4 programs with journalists because I have cable TV. So I do talk about this. They said Africa will burn, will be wiped out without the help of international help, especially WHO. We in the United States, the richest economy, we say no. But anyway, see what they say. They say they need to make sure that when you are inside, even with the small numbers, to put your face, mask, because the problem is the droplets. And meanwhile, as I said, here in the United States, we don't care about it. Not me, but the leadership. So it is really important to adhere to these policies, and make no mistake, virus is not going anywhere, but we can control it by controlling our own action. So if there is a financial crisis, and there is a crisis in content, and there is a crisis in management, there is a crisis with our own behavior when we deny our own self the opportunity to protect ourselves by doing these 3 things.
Thank you, sir. Shall we take some more questions, or you have time? Because you had given only 15 minutes for question and answer. It's over. Shall we take, because there are 11
Yes,
more
sir.
questions. Shall we take another shall we go up to another 10-15 minutes? Is it okay for you?
Okay.
Is it okay? Okay. There is one question from Dr. Ritu Ravindran. She is Assistant Professor of Department of Journalism, Jain Deemed to be University, Kochi, Kerala. Her question is, the internet has been the source of refuge for many of us during this pandemic. But is the online world helping our mental well-being?
Oh. We did, and I think my friend, 2 friends there, Dr. Ro and Dr. Winkai To, we sponsored COVID-19 and mental health issues. We had a webinar. It's 2 hours, and a lot of misinformation coming through the internet, actually creating another layer of fear on those special needs and those mentally they need our medical attention. So we need to educate the family members. We need to educate the groups that we are working with, we are affiliated with, we are associated with, that pay attention only to the medical websites. And try, this is not a censorship. This is actually concern. This comes from you as a family member and also a community member. We need to make sure that the information that been disseminated on the internet, as one of our distinguished speaker mentioned, everyone is a journalist, but make sure I'm not into this philosophy that I'm gonna recognize everyone has like me, a phone that he is or she is a journalist. I have to say no, politely and respectfully and professionally. I'm not saying no because I don't recognize you as a person. I do recognize you as a person. I respect you, but this is a professionalism. So we need to make sure that there are a lot of good websites, there are a lot of good organizations, and actually free, that offering this information about mental health. And this is important, and it's for us in Bridgewater State University. Actually, we have one unit, one department. Their job is to take care of our 11,000 students. However, because health, mental health, it could be caused now. It probably people, they were very healthy, but because of the financial needs, social needs, because social distancing is not easy. It's not easy on me, to be honest with you. You know, I want to go to the campus. I want to interact with my colleagues and with my students. I want to go out and have fun. But we need to make sure that this need should find a way to substitute it. And substitution should not be to feed wrong information. And I think I will end up with that.
Okay, thank you. Shall I take up some more questions, Professor? There is one question from Archana Sharma, RIMT University. Her question is, what steps a democratic government should take to stop sensationalized reporting during national and health emergency?
Could you repeat that question, please, because it's breaking up a little bit?
What steps a democratic government should take to stop sensationalized reporting during national and health emergency?
Oh, my friend, this is very difficult. Information is based on real information and information. So we make sure that we gather the information from its sources. Because, you know, if you go and say this and say that and say that, and then, you know, it's unfounded, it's a problem. So we need to make sure that we check our sources. Remember, in the old journalism, and a lot of you are distinguished journalists and media people, at least you have 3 checks. You check 3 sources before you get the news out. This is gone. This is history. This is now, you know, is a very dead competitive situation. Fortunately, there are some sensible, responsible people that they won't run with a story because they heard. That's why sometimes I feel very pleased when I say there is information there, but we have not checked the sources. So my advice to this kind, I want you actually to, this is why I say to myself, when I say, please, I don't want you to use this, you know, because you already disseminated the information. You already informed me. Therefore, this is a kind of disclaimer. It's not going to work. So we need to go back to the basic. Get the information from its sources. You know, the BBC, probably you disagree with me, old school, when they give you at least 3 perspectives on things, and then they leave you on your own, and then you think about it. That's what we need to come in this public health crisis. We need to get information from sources, and if there are opinions, for example, in science, you know, we have opinions sometimes. Dr. Fauci, for example, he never really turned his back on the audience, always on message. So media people, journalists, my friends and colleagues, respectfully stay on the message, real message, to treat the problem, not to treat the politics. Politics is not going to be treated this time. But if you get the right information, that will penetrate all layers, and then the audience will stand with you.
Thank you, Professor. There is one question from Dr. Hampesh KS, is Assistant Professor of Department of Journalism and Mass Communication, SDM College, Ujire. His question is, what is your opinion about Indian media coverage on COVID-19?
Oh, yeah, you don't want me to come back to India? I've been in India like 3 times.
Yeah.
No, my humble, I have to also news outlet and TV. I think they are within majority, I would say, within the model 1, which is integrated. And then there is another model, which is kind of exploratory. They want a balance between, well, you know, I have to make sure that no one will kick me off or say you're done because you violated our policies. And this is important. So my humble assessment to the Indian media, whether that's print media that I can read in English, I hope my friend Dr. B.K. Ravi will teach me how to speak at least you have 200 or 250 dialogues. I would like to know one of them, or the language that commonly used. So we need. This is my assessment. As integrated, is dignified, and I know your country, and that's why I ask about the health of our people actually in India, that they are well and healthy and safety, because through mass media or media here in the United States, sometimes you hear conflicting news. So I go to the source and I found something else that the government trying to control that.
Okay, sir. Thank you. There's one question from Suparna Naresh. She's from Christ University. Her question is, many media professionals are of the opinion that crisis coverage needs a special kind of training, which is seldom given to them in training institutes. What is your opinion on this?
There is no conflict in answering this, and no other opinion, but it's yes. I would say yes, and I will invite you in the name of the Munich Institute for Global Engagement, and also through my friend Dr. Ravi, to probably come up with an idea. I can send you some information, and we can run a workshop. Workshop is very, very important. Not just for the beginners, by the way, because it's sometimes say, I'm very in my profession and I don't need training. All of us at this time, we need training. And so how we can handle it. Just remember when Iran-Iraq war was in Iraq, and I was younger and I was there, we were trained, to go to the front line. Then you have to do how to deal, with things, and don't actually jeopardize the safety or compromise the safety of the people who send there to fight, unfortunately. And therefore we need to actually push harder on this issue through the universities, and also the NGOs and the United Nations and UNICEF, because this is kind of a collective need. So the answer is yes, 100%. And by the way, there are a lot of organizations now that actually they're doing this on 1 day or 2 days with simple fees. But we can offer something that with simple fees, but we can do it virtually as well. So the answer is yes, and thank you for bringing this to our attention. And I want to make sure that with this one, also, we should always think about media literacy. And I found it's very interesting. And some of you are teaching this media literacy. Yes. Is starting to pick up an information literacy. I will add to that. It's very important because we need to make sure that when you watch a story, when you watch a documentary film, when you listen to a story, you can analyze the element and see, you can evaluate it. Media literacy is one of the new dimension in terms of COVID-19 and the new normal, because somehow you put it aside. I teach it, and probably some of you teach it in Bridgewater State University, but is any course, any other course. Now it's focus on it, and please add to it, even in the workshop, say training on something, and then media literacy and information literacy, because a lot of misinformation there, and we need to control that.
Okay, so thank you. Dr. Sudeshna Mukherjee, she has a very simple question. Ethics of media, whether it is guided by public morality or market?
Well, remember our professional code. So what's our, you go back to see professional code in journalism, and also the ethicality and the ethics. If you give any misinformation, I think you deviate from ethics. If you, because in media, you inform, educate, persuade, and entertain. Unfortunately, in where I live, entertainment becomes number one. So you reverse it. It's become entertain, persuade because of agenda setting theory applications, and then inform. So I think there is a global call for you honor your information, your sources, and you establish factual information and disseminate it. And this is sometimes led by the media organization. It should be, but most of the time led by the individual media person or journalist. That's when you say check and balances information. So that's very important. Unfortunately, is a wild west when it comes to the internet, and some of the question came with that, because you really cannot control it. And look, Facebook now has a problem because of their really, I would call it unacceptable attitude from looking to the racism issue. And they said, why you don't check it and balance it? And of course, you know, almost more than 50 big advertisement or companies now, they block their advertisements. I know Facebook is too big to fail, but it's important to voice your objection to that. You know, we want them to succeed, but not on the shoulders of the truth or the people who are actually under the pressure and they are oppressed by either the police brutality. And I'm not saying all police are bad, but I'm saying there are bad officers, there are some bad people. You know, we need to at least educate them, and therefore, so this is really going back to yes, the moral issues, ethical issues, and the professional code. Now, is this moral to disseminate unfounded information? Then you fall into the category of rumors, and a lot of rumors. That's why we have the conspiracy theories around the world. It's just still spinning, and certainly because some media, especially on the freewheel internet, they do this. You know, anything you write it there. And that's why media literacy, and to be media literate and information literate is very, very important.
Thank you, Professor. Professor, still we have around 15 questions. Shall we take some more?
It's up to you, sir.
No, it depends upon your time, sir. We should not, if you are free, we will take up, otherwise. If you are free, shall we take
I
another
would
some more
love
questions?
to answer it if I can, you know. So let's take a few questions.
There is one question from A.S. Chandramouli, the former Director General of Audience Research Bureau of Doordarshan. His question is, always government figures are seen with suspicion. How to infuse confidence in statistics? Always government figures are seen with suspicion.
Suspicious.
How to infuse confidence in statistics?
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's as we say in methodology, if you replicate at least some of the results, I mean, the methodology is right and the information right. So we need to make sure that we go to other sources. You know, it could be sometimes exaggerated, it could be underscored. So we need to make sure that we check the methodologies, or we make sure that we don't, you know, we don't need to run with everything that we read because in the name of research, or because, I mean, you know how many articles being published in the United States, around the world, about COVID-19 and what it is, and what's nature, and you know, whether it can live on the surface for 7 days or 3 days or 1 day, and you know, And media, how they dealt with that is say, well, this being a very small population, this being has not been vetted. So we need to make sure that is being vetted, is being reliably investigated, and we'll go over that. It's again is individual call, and so I won't run. I trust CDC for example, in the United States, because as I said yesterday, that when they talk about 99, and none of the media actually take the 99 and run with it, except one station. I'm not going to mention it. Probably you're going to figure out with that station in the United States. All of them, they went to the sources and they found that the doctors, scientists, and even the responsible people there, they're working for the President Trump. They said, well, we're not going to question who's right or who's wrong, but please adhere to the policies that we announced. So make sure that you check the information.
Okay, thank you, sir. There is one question from Dr. Rashmi Gautam. She is the assistant professor in journalism and mass communication, Chhatrapati Sahuji Maharaj University, Kanpur. Her question is, what is the role of social media in global economy?
The short answer is very big, because this is actually the world of digital media is expanding, and therefore they can generate money. And there are examples with Instagram. There is example from also Google, and they actually, and Netflix, by the way, they generate money through that, because this is a small amount of money, but very important to sustain their job. It's very, very important, and you know where to put your money. You know, I mean, and internet is very is an open forum, and you can pick the reliable ones, and then you can advertise. So it's very important, I think, for them to get some funds, and it's happening as we speak. As I mentioned, you know, Instagram, Google, of course, is very very active in that. And I read an article actually 3 days ago that some of our networks here, cable TV, they started to use their websites and actually attract some advertisement, because that's important. So probably you have not done so, and you know, remember print media. I know I can't go to the store after I finish, and I usually have subscription is down, but so the print media is trying to give incentives. How this incentives? For example, for 6 weeks now, the Boston Globe, you pay $1 a week, you know, and then of course you go and they increase that. So we need to think of be creative, and creativity and innovation is in order now. And so please, if you are in the print media industry, you can always come up with some solution for yourself, for your organization, your print media, and get, you know, the attention of the audience, your readers. You remember the old days when I was a student in Michigan University in Ann Arbor? They taught us, you know, how you sectionalize the audience, and it was actually not acceptable word, because remember there's a conflict in the United States, you know, I mean, intellectually, between when you say mass communication or communication, you know, without the S, because when they put the S, then you are talking about transportations probably. But to cut short to answer, we need to sectionalize this again. So you go youth, you go elderly, you go, you know, sport people. We have to do with segmentation, and then you offer the content that they will appreciate, and they will pay for that, subscription or otherwise.
Okay. Thank you, sir. There's one question from Dr. Shilpa J. from Acharya College. How ethically right are we by using pandemic situation for politicizing sensationalizing, and food for our TRP, television rating points?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm always against politicizing, COVID-19, and it's been big time. We are polarized in the United States because of this, and unfortunately, we came down to a point when if you have a mask, that means you are in so-called blue states. If you don't, that means you're from red states. This is ridiculous, excuse my word, because this is a public health crisis. So we need to make sure, I'm not saying when you have a national security that we all say, no, I don't care, I'm going to destroy the country. We are responsible people. And I really trust that my colleagues in media in general, they are people that they want to do good by the community. So politicization of any issue in this case is a problem. We are not in campaigning with the virus. We are fighting the virus to control it, to save everybody, including the candidates themselves. So therefore, I'm flatly against politicization any of this issue when it comes to public health issues, mental health issues, racism in our case. Remember, now we talk about it. 2 years ago, we don't talk. I mean, actually, even less than 2 years. You talk it in the class, but now it's open. So public health is for all of us, being liberal, Democrats, Republic, libertarian, conservatives, religious, atheists, whatever. We need to breathe the healthy air, and we need to be treated as equally as possible. Well, it's not possible. It should be as people.
Okay, thank you, sir. There's one question from Vasundhara Priyadarshini Mahadev of School of Business Studies and Social Sciences. In the context of coverage given to the issues related to the pandemic across the globe, do you think the so-called mainstream media is becoming extremely biased and choosy because there are many perspectives which are conveniently forgotten?
I think bias is one thing that we're not going to really be able to filter it out 100%. Objectivity also as approach, and if we cannot really counter it because there is a lot of conversation about being objective or not. There are two debates about the word neutrality, and the previous question talked about neutrality and a moral connection and neutrality and ethics question. I think neutrality, at least in my humble view, is to establish factual information. Therefore, we need to stick to that. Mainstream media, I call it traditional media.
Yeah.
They actually now, they have better rating than cable TV in some cases, based on Wilson's rating system here in the United States. And Pew Research Center, actually, they did the same thing. TV is going up. Why? Because especially the news things. And the news, not the old news when you just tell a long story. You come with a news story based again on information and factual information, and it is important. So I think somehow when it comes to COVID-19, the mainstream media, they are rating better than before COVID-19.
Okay, sir. Thank you. There's one question from Lazarus Lepcha. He's assistant professor of Loyola Degree College, Bangalore. What could be the best way to distinguish fake news during pandemic at present? Especially common people tend to believe and create chaos and panic.
Yeah, we talk about this. You know, education is important, and present them with science. And you know, it depends on sometimes system beliefs is very important. So we need to approach it in different. You know, if it comes through religious sense and lens, then we need to talk about it in that sense. We need to understand, as I said before, what we need to, how we need to reach out to our audience based on their needs. So, so it is really. As I wish I have a clear answer to it, but I think it depends on how we're going to educate the people about facts and demonstrate them, because this is demonstrable. You know, when you show them people, they got COVID-19, they quarantine, and then, or they had to go to the hospital, they've been treated, and then either they passed away or they were able to live and come back to their families. These are real stories. And I know the old saying, seeing is believing. We need to demonstrate that. But it is really based on a lot of factors that we need to understand which community and what's going on with that community. And again, as is religious, we need to respect it and talk about it. If it's philosophical for sophisticated people like yourself in a meaningful way, then we need to go to that level. And media usually, I will say, is a common level. Media, because when you share a story, you are reaching out to everybody, not to certain people, except when you sectionalize your programs and actually say this is for this kind of audience. Then that is understandable.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Questions are pouring in, but due to lack of time, I don't think we can take all the questions. And this will be the last question from
Yes, please.
Dr. Simi Varghese. She's Associate Professor of Department of Communication Journalism, Prajyoti Niketan College, Pudukkad, Thrissur, from Kerala. Her question is, do you think the disruptions in technology a positive thing about COVID-19?
I think the answer is yes. That's why it's media now. They are actually working hard to improve their technology. And look what happened to Zoom now. You know, remember the first few weeks in Zoom, we have a lot of technical problems. Now Zoom, I'm looking at, you see at least 165 people now. I know there's still a problem with, you know, you always need to mute the audience because then you can't keep the health of your Wi-Fi or the signal, all of that. So I think technology is evolving, and we should use it. We should use it in a classroom in terms of when we go back to our classroom. We should use it in media and print media. I will leave you with this: radio, TV, film, and all kind of cloud and internet, social. They are here to stay. They don't really wipe each other. They coexist by nature. Remember when radio came, they said, oh no, photography is gonna gone and printing is gonna gone. No. When television in the 40s came, they said the same thing about film. So these are came and have been staying with us, and we're gonna stay for forever, because we can make sure that they are coexisting with each other. They are, and they can transform, you know, the content and otherwise. So I think we should use technology and make sure that we know how to use it. Going back to the workshop and things like that, all of us went through workshop through the IT, which is information technology in Bridgewater State University. And still, every day we receive a message. They say, okay, you want to use Zoom? This is what we can do. We can help you. So we need to, you know, it has nothing to do, you are full professor or you're full very, very high-end professional journalists. Technology is a new thing for us, and we need to make sure that we are modest enough to go and learn from and use it. And I think it will benefit you as a person, me as a person, our audience, and also our students, because we want to go back and teach them the right thing.
So, thank you very much, Professor, for
Thank
your
you.
excellent presentation. Now this is the time for the presidential remarks. I'll just wind up within 2 minutes. So it was an excellent presentation by Professor Jabbar. I think you have given quite a lot of insights about the safety of journalists, about the content, about the official figures, and you gave us quite a lot of information about how you managed to have the cable TV and program outlets, and quite a lot of factors which you have presented in your keynote address. And one very important thing, Professor, as you know, Indian media industry is one of the largest in the world. We just look into the turnover. Indian media industry is one of the largest industries in the world, and the entertainment industry of India is something it's enormous. Its growth is enormous, and even the turnover was gradually increasing because of this pandemic. And there is a very big question before all of us: what will happen? Because newspapers, the circulation came down to 20% at one point of time. Newspaper hawkers and boys were thrown out of our flats, thrown out of our streets. The TV production locked down, film industry was locked down, all our film theaters were locked down. So we had a very big question, and I think after we listened to your speech, I think you gave an excellent presentation where you said the medium will stay. Radio will stay, television will stay, newspaper industry will stay. They will compete with each other. This is just a passing phase. There's an excellent message, Professor, which you have given to the Indian media industry. Because at every point of time, we go on keep on discussing about quite a lot of things. What will be the future of the media industry? And I think you gave an excellent positive note towards this. And we hope this is just just a passing era. This era, once if we go through this era, I think media will survive. There is no doubt about it. So it was an excellent presentation. I think with a lot of academicians, or researchers, students, social scientists, and people from different parts of the globe. Definitely, we enjoyed your presentation, which was very thought-provoking. You gave quite a lot of information to all of us, and I think I'm very grateful for you on behalf of Department of Communication, Bangalore University. We're very grateful to you, Professor, for your excellent presentation. So
thank you so much.
Again, I think I will wind up. I will also perform a vote of thanks, because the time we are nearing 2 hours. Because getting 2 hours of you is really, it's very difficult, and it's really, we enjoyed, and we should be very grateful for you for spending your precious time. I know you may be on the way to visit your university. It's getting late. In spite of your busy schedule, you made it, Professor. Once again, on behalf of all our colleagues, because Bangalore University and Bridgewater State University, we have come together, and this is the first international webinar. And I think you have inaugurated the MOU between these two, BU and BSU. May this journey last for long. And we, on behalf of Bangalore University, again, because you took the initiative, I think for a very long time, every time whenever I used to visit your university, Professor, you always used to tell us that Bangalore University should sign an MOU with Bridgewater State University, and you took up the lead, and we have succeeded. So on behalf of Bangalore University, once again, we are very grateful, Professor, for your excellent speech, and let this journey, joint journey of BU and BSU, let it last long. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you so much to you as well, and to my colleagues there. And remember, I see Dr. Omashama there listening, and Dr. Madero, and also our assistant provost, Dr. Wankai, to, because he's actually the person who runs the Munich Institute for Global Engagement. And I invite all of you to think about what your interests are in terms of the global connection with BSU, Bridgewater State University, and consider it as your school. To be honest with you, I'm very confident and very open. This is an open invitation to BSU. We are very welcoming campus, as my friend Ravi knows about it, and also our students will be thrilled, to interact with you. I think I would like to, as we learn, you usually say things, but what's the next step? So the next steps, I think we should organize a workshop, professional development. We can have that between our schools, led by your district schools and Bridgewater State University. And also, I think we can probably call for a research or joint themes, and then we can write a book. And I think Dr. Ravi is well known about that. And so we should take some steps forward. And I appreciate the fact, and I'm really honored and humbled by your questions, because I know you have better answers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I take this opportunity to thank our colleagues, Professor Uma Sharma. She's the alumni of Bangalore University, Dr. Wing Khai and Dr. Madhu Rao for all their cooperation. So thank you very much. And I take this opportunity to thank our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor K.R. Venugopal, for inaugurating this international webinar. I'm also thankful to Dr. P.S. Harsha, IPS, Commissioner of Department of Information and Public Relations, Government of Karnataka. And I'm very thankful to my colleagues, Dr. Sanjeev Raj, Associate Professor, Department of Communication, Bangalore University, and Dr. Shailashri, Associate Professor, Department of Communication, Bangalore University, for all their support. I also thank Professor Sushila, the Chairperson of Department of Performing Arts, for performing an excellent invocation. And I think I have to recognize the presence of Professor Syed Amjad Ahmad, who is with us. He was one of the senior most professors of, he was the director of EMMRC and was a senior most professor and alumni of the Department of Communication. And I thank all my colleagues. I see all my colleagues from different parts of the state, different parts of the country, different parts of the globe. Even my friend, Professor Rotimi Walatunji, who is from the Lagos State University in Nigeria, he also joined this session. And I'm very grateful to all my dear teachers, a lot of them from different universities and all from different departments of some of our government colleges, research scholars, students, our non-teaching staff or social scientists, and quite a lot of media professionals have also joined. So I'm very grateful for all of you for joining this international webinar. So this will go on from today to up to Saturday. So you kindly be with us. And tomorrow, Professor K.V. Nagaraj, the former Pro-Chancellor of Assam University, Silichar, will join us exactly by 6 p.m. Kindly join us. Kindly send your feedback to us so that, because we had a roaring response to our call, and all of you will get the e-certificates, and nothing to worry. Please send your feedback forms immediately. So once again, I thank Professor Jabbar for your excellent speech, sir. Because we are also prepared to organize quite a lot of, we will discuss with Dr. Wing Khai and Madhu Rao and Masham and yourself, so that we can always have an international workshop on media related issues along with BU and BSU. We are prepared, and I think we will start working it out. And once the COVID-19 is over, Professor, we assure you that research scholars, teachers, and students, there will be an excellent exchange program from not only from Department of Media Studies, Bangalore University. We have excellent other departments. Our science faculty is also very strong. So once the COVID-19 disappears, let us have an exchange of people. We expected students and researchers from Bridgewater State University to come to Bangalore University, and our students will visit your university. So, and we expect all your encouragement and support. Once again, I thank all of you for your encouragement and support. Let us stay safe. Let us fight COVID-19. Let us not fear for this pandemic. Let us fight COVID-19. Let us stay safe and let us live happily. Let us hope that COVID-19 will disappear very fast and let the media industry come back to its normalcy. Again, thank you very much for all of you for your excellent participation, encouragement, and support towards Department of Communication, Bangalore University. I wish you all the best. Stay safe. Namaste.